Hello everybody! Today we're going to be going over the most interesting K-pop girl group comebacks of 2025. There isn't any particular order to this list, so I'm not saying that any one of these is better than the others, or better than anything that's not on this list for that matter. I just wanted to have a good mix. I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm not going to go too much into depth on each one. Just quickly going over why I think they're great. But before we begin, I must give the obligatory disclaimer that everything in this video is my opinion. You are free to disagree with me, and in fact, if you have something different to say, I would love to hear it in the comments. Alright, let's get into it. Now NMIXX had two comebacks this year, and both of which I really enjoyed. However, there was one song that really stood out to me, and that was Spinnin' on It. Now the obvious thing to say about this song is that it has a lot of really interesting vocal techniques going on, but that's kind of every NMIXX song, so what I really wanted to point out in this song is the concept. I think this song has a really cool vibe that I don't see a ton of in K-pop. It's kind of like a love-hate song concept, and I think they pulled it off really well. So I just had this song stuck in my head for weeks, which is why it's on this list. Now it seems SSERAFIM has been doing really well this year, especially with their US promotions. I feel like I'm always seeing their clips on my timeline, so it seems they're pretty viral to me. I did see some mixed reviews for Spaghetti, and it wasn't my favorite either, but the only real criticism I have is that I just think that explicit lyrics are a bad idea, because it can kind of limit the reach. However, I will actually defend Spaghetti as a whole, and that's because while this one might not have been the best execution, it does represent exactly what it is I like about SSERAFIM. And that is that they're not afraid to be a little weird and make songs that are, yes, a little cringe sometimes, but if I'm being honest, K-pop is cringe. And so am I. The quirkiness has always been one of my favorite things about K-pop, but it seems like it's kind of getting rarer. There will probably never be another group that's as funky as, let's say, Orange Caramel, but I will always appreciate groups that are willing to experiment. Anyway, I digress. Maybe I'll make a longer video about that topic in the future. But the reason I brought it up was so that you would understand my real pick from SSERAFIM this year, which is their B-side stage from Hot. Come Over is the perfect amount of outside the box, and it makes it iconic. It just has a great concept all around, which made me enjoy it more than the title track. So yeah, it's just great. So I know when most people think of VIVIZ right now, they probably think about Maniac, which released 2 years ago already. But La La Love Me might actually be my favorite song from them so far as a unit. The dance has some really cool parts, and I really like that sick bass line that it has. I don't even have really much else to say about this one. It just was really solid and really good, so that's why it's on this list. Now I don't know if this is cheating, but my pick from Kiss of Life for this list is actually their first Japanese song, Lucky. I would say this is one of, if not the best, Japanese debut I've ever seen. It tends to happen a lot that the Japanese releases lack the same polish that the Korean songs get, but this is not the case with Lucky. They really pulled out all the stops for this one, and I think it's easily my favorite Kiss of Life song. At first I thought this was a bit tragic, as it also tends to be the case that Japanese releases are less popular, just due to the more closed-off nature of the Japanese media. Which is why I think them promoting the Korean version of this song is the best decision they could have made. Because when you have a song this good, you gotta capitalize on it, and I'm glad they recognize that. Now this year I finally caved and started standing ILLIT, or ILLIT I guess it's supposed to be. I know Magnetic was really popular right out of the gate, but I just found it to be a little too cookie cutter at the time. But I couldn't help but just like Tic Tac, and now after their third album, I was fully converted. Do the Dance was good, but what really got my attention was Jealous. This song has such a unique concept, and it's represented in every detail. From the music video that's all about Gen Z video game nostalgia, the beat of the song sounds like a rhythm game, even the choreography looks like they're playing DDR. Speaking of good choreography, I also have to talk about Oops, because this stage is just hypnotic. And the song might actually be my favorite ILLIT song, it just sounds so clean. I think that they really have mastered the cute concept, which kind of leaves me scratching my head as to why they've decided to stop being cute already. Although, Not Cute Anymore was still pretty cute, to be honest, so I guess we'll just have to see where they decide to go with this new brand in the future. So ITZY had 2 comebacks this year, and while I wouldn't say either of them were my favorite ITZY songs, I also can't complain either, as they were both pretty solid. I don't know about you guys, but for me, Born to Be, which was a couple years ago now, was such an amazing album. I think it had 7 music videos, which is insane. So yeah, I think it's going to be pretty hard for them to ever top that in my mind. But overall, I would say ITZY has been pretty consistently good for a while now. But they also had their first solo this year, and so what I've picked for this list of the most interesting releases is actually Air from Yeji. This song also has a sweet synth bass sound that I really like. But this opening scene in the music video is really cool. There's some really interesting cinematography going on here, and the whole thing is just very captivating. Also, I find it interesting how K-pop likes to experiment with the aspect ratio on the music videos. I think I'm going to collect all the ones I can find that have this 4:3 aspect ratio and put them all onto a videotape. But anyway, moving on.
Giddy up, giddy up.
Now the last group I expected to make a comeback this year was MOMOLAND. That surprise alone basically earns them a spot on this list. Real ones will remember how big MOMOLAND was back in the day with Boom Boom. But I was thinking, how many members does a group have to lose before they should rebrand? I mean, VIVIZ only lost 2 members and now they're rebranding. But FromUs9 made a comeback this year and they didn't even change it to FromUs5 or something. That would have been funny. But anyway, it's pretty interesting to have a group come back from the grave like this. And besides the fact that they can't pronounce the name of the song right, I actually really liked it. Probably my favorite song they've done since BAM. The dance is pretty cool. The gracious part reminds me of the great part from the good old days. And I'm just now appreciating how good of an idol Nancy is. She does just kind of have that aura, you know? It feels like they never left. You know, except for the ones that did. It was a good year for LOONA stands, that's all I can say. Yeah, we didn't get anything from Lucemble, but they had a pretty good song last year, so we can't be too upset. But we got a lot of new stuff from everyone else. Artemis has just been churning out content. My favorite song from them would have to be this newest song from Choiri. It was just so cute. Eve released a really good album. I'm telling you, go listen to this song with headphones on. It's amazing, trust me. But actually, my pick from the LOONAverse this year has to be Choose Only Cry in the Rain. This song absolutely slaps. I don't even know what you would call this kind of song, maybe like a bittersweet melody. I don't know much about music genres, but this whole EP was a banger. And all of this made me think about how LOONA was all about unit activities before anyway, so at this point it feels like they never even disbanded. I don't know, what do you guys think? What impressed me about IVE this year was the consistency. They had 3 different title tracks this year and all of them were solid. Each one was stuck in my head for weeks afterward. But if I had to pick one, it would probably be Attitude just because it was the most memorable. Now you'll have to forgive me for breaking the rules a little bit, but the real reason I put IVE on this list was so that I could talk about this cover stage from Liz, because this is art. You need to watch this if you haven't yet. This performance makes me want to join the Korean military and die for a country I've never been to. That's how incredible this is. She looks perfect, her vocals are perfect, the song is perfect. Which brings me to a good point for all my fellow non-Korean fans out there. Maybe you're new to K-pop, or maybe you've just never thought of this, so let me put you on real quick. Old K-pop is fire. Now depending on who you ask, a song from the 80s is technically not K-pop. But my point is that there are a lot of iconic older songs out there, so if you're only paying attention to the current generation, you're really limiting yourself. Just think about all the oldies you already like to listen to from other genres, and it's the same here. Anyway, rant over. Now, to be honest with you, the only group that I'm actually qualified to talk about is TWICE. I am a once, first and foremost, and so they were going to be on this list no matter what. Now last year I loved Strategy. I thought it was the best Twice song in years actually. But that brings us to this year with This Is 4. And to be honest, the first time I watched it, I hated it. I've calmed down a little since then, and while I still think it was a step in the wrong direction, it maybe wasn't as bad as I originally thought. It's got some good parts, but I think what I don't like about it is that the concept is leaning a little too much into that aesthetic, and that's just not really what I'm into. Also, the song is too short, but that's kind of a problem with all K-pop right now. So what I want to talk about instead for my favorite Twice release this year is Chaeyoung's solo album. I just thought this album was so her. Unlike most idols, Chaeyoung is a true artist in the sense that she has her own artistic style, and that really came through with this album. Even the choreography looks very unique. I'm very pleased that the JYP team recognized that potential in her and let her do what she wanted. You can tell that she actually had quite a bit of creative control over it. Anyway, but lastly, I feel like I have to talk about the K-pop Demon Hunters cameo. Because I had zero expectations for this movie, and I don't think anyone did. I mean, it didn't even get a theatrical release originally. But yeah, we all know how that went. So who knew that it would turn out to be such a great investment for them? It is pretty crazy that Twice has hit their 10th year anniversary and they're still going this strong. And while they aren't really as viral online as they were back in the day, they are an 11th year group and they're still selling out world tours, which is pretty hard to argue with that level of success. All of the last 3 tours easily could have been their last, so I'm just trying to enjoy this as long as it goes on. All the OG onces will know how much of a ride this has been. But anyway, that's going to be the end of this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Be sure to tell me how wrong I am in the comments below. I might make more videos in the future, who knows, but I'm looking forward to everything that will be coming in 2026, so see you then.